What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Convos. And I have with me none other than the man himself, Dee Black. What's good, brother?
What's good, bro? Man, I appreciate you just asking me to come do this for sure. I don't take it for granted.
Nah, no problem at all, man. I just thought about it. I actually met you one time a while ago. This is at a Jared Sanders church when he had his album release party.
Oh man, you were there?
Yeah, in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, back then I didn't know who you were back then.
Okay.
But funny thing is now, but I think I heard your music before. I didn't know it was you until you got on stage.
I've heard that so many times. You have no idea. I've done shows, right? And I'm standing in the crowd, and I'm like, "Who you here to see?" And like Dee Black, and I'm like, "Oh man, he whack, man! Like that dude, he can't rap." And they're like, "Bro, what you saying?" Then I go up on stage, they have no idea who I am. So
wow.
I like it that way. You know what I mean? Sometimes.
Yeah. So how'd you even get into music in the first place?
Friends, man. I had friends. I mean, first of all, music, I just loved it in general. Started from back young, you know what I mean? My parents, man, listening to music, just hearing them, and then hip hop, of course, became the thing for me. And I had some friends in high school, man. They were rapping. They had their rap group back in the day, and they kind of got famous, man. They were doing like Rap City and all of these things. And I was running wild. I was the guy the street guy who they rapped about. You know how that every crew got. You know what I'm saying? And they was like, bro, you should start writing because, you know what I mean? You official. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never took it serious, but I finally decided to try. I didn't even know how to write a 16, bro. Mm-hmm. And this was like around like 16 years old, 16, 17. And one of my best friends, man, he taught me how to write. He showed me how to break it down, how to structure. And from there, man, I started writing. And my first rhyme, one of my first rhymes, he took me to the studio, like immediately. And I just remember looking through the glass, bro, and everybody's face just dropped, their jaws dropped. You know what I mean? And I never left from that day, man. I have a different story, bro. Like I had a deal probably within a week from there.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it was like, man, I think God was already, even though I wasn't saved, I think he was saving me from that street life. Like, you know what I mean? For a time such as this, really.
Yeah. Well, speaking of even, I guess as far as how you even write, what's your writing process like? Because I told you before on social media, I've never heard a bad Dee Black verse. Like every time I'm like, hold on. What did you say? Like,
there's some bad Dee Black verses. Keyword, you never heard them.
Like, okay, got you.
I'm like really, bro. I probably have gotten. I got hundreds of songs that I never released.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? I'm my biggest critic, you know what I mean? And my process is weird because sometimes I cannot write. Like I can, think, and I'm not freestyling. Like some people will say they can just freestyle a whole song or a verse. I'll be driving and a song, like a thing will come to my head and I'll have one line and I'm like, oh, and then I'll get another line. And it's like I'm piecing it together in my head. You get what I'm saying? But
yeah.
Then I have times where I sit down with my phone, and bro, 5 minutes. Some of my best verses I've written in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Easy. Like, because it's like an inspiration thing. You get what I'm saying? But I understand being from the old school, bro, really loving lyrics, and I understand how to piece together similes and how to piece together, punchlines and all of these different things. I understand, and it becomes fun. It's like a challenge. You get what I'm saying? So when you hear what you hear, it's because I'm like super excited about challenging myself, how I can fit words and play with words, and at the same time get God's message in the same breath of it.
I'm kind of the same way when it comes to writing. Like I take a long time to write. Like some people write like they go in the booth and they turn it on and they get a song. I take a long time because I can be cutting grass.
Yeah.
And literally be like, okay. And then in my head, I'll have the whole rhyme in my head before I even put it in my phone. And then and then by the time I get in the studio, it comes out. Because how you can tell when someone's rapping, like they read off the paper versus when they really rapping it because they know it. Like,
right.
So like at first I would just write and then read off the paper, but then after a while I could tell, no, it sounds like I'm reading. So now like I get it in my head first, then I write it on my phone, and then by the time I rap it, I already have it memorized in the studio already. But it's funny because me and my wife was talking about this very thing last night, And that's something that you're really good at. You're really good at giving punchlines and bars, but at the same time, to me, a good rapper is somebody that they can make you feel what they're talking about. Like some guys are like crazy, crazy nice when it comes to bars, but I can't connect with them because I don't know. Like to me, I gotta really connect with you to be able to like, I guess get the song in totality. Like you and another guy, Mouthpiece, are real good with like crazy nice with the pen, but at the same time, I can feel what you're saying.
Man, you know what's funny about that? Me and Mouth talk about that all the time, man. I think, you know, even, you know, when people use the word secular or artists who are mainstream, like believability is important. You get what I'm saying? Like, so when I'm writing, I'm not writing from a place where it's not personal or a place where I'm not, you know, what you're getting is my personal worship with God a lot of times. Or when I pray, like it's no fake about it. You get what I'm saying? Like if I stop praying, bro, if I stop getting in God's word, you're gonna get that in the songs. I don't know how to not be real about it. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like what you really getting is authenticity. And most people who are authentic, they feel it. They relate to that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, most definitely. Even talking about that. Yeah, I wouldn't say your most recent song, but one of your new singles, I Used To. That's a prime example of like I said, me and my wife talk about this recently. We talk about this all the time, like the effect music, especially rap music, but music in general has on. Well, I'll say rap music because it's the most popular music in the world, in my opinion. Like everybody, Asian, Black, White, Spanish, everybody of all ages listen to rap music now. Like you can be. My wife was literally yesterday getting a massage, no, getting a pedicure, and she said it was a like middle-aged white lady, and they had like Still Dre playing, and like the unedited version, and she was like kind of uncomfortable because it's like, man, like I'm the only black person in here, and they in there saying N-word, B-word, and it's like, but everybody listens to rap music now, and it's like it has a really, really negative effect. And you talked about it in I Used To. Could you, I guess, expound upon that a little bit?
Yeah, man. I was very impressionable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how it is, man. Growing up, you kind of trying to find your way and trying to figure out your identity and who you are. And the music a lot of times was that soundtrack for us, man. How to dress. You know, it talked about the idea of how you talk to a girl, and whichever negative or positive, you know, you had definitely. LL all the way back to LL Cool J, I Need Love. He was a thug talking, trying to teach you how to speak from a, you know, sensitive and
pouring his heart out.
Exactly. And then that made it cool, right? Like, okay, I can talk to you in that way because he did that. So that's cool. But then you had that moment in time where it shifted to that gangster rap. You know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden, I remember even all the way back to Wu-Tang, bro. I started letting my hair grow, stopped combing it. You know what I'm saying? I had on Timbs, and you get what I'm saying? Then it switched to the West Coast. I had friends from Cali, and you know, that was the first time I smoked. You know, they were really heavy into Dre and all of those guys, and that was the Chronic. You get what I'm saying? So all of this stuff was kind of writing a narrative around like what you should be and what you should do. And a lot of I think some people don't get it cultural wise as young black men, bro. We are so impressionable from the idea of who we look up to. You know what I mean? And drug dealers was like people we looked up to. They were the rappers. They were the, you know, we looked at the ball players and stuff of that nature, but it kind of shaped us, you know what I mean? And the things we were doing and how we interacted with people. So, you know, that Used To, man, for me, I looked at those guys and I was like, hey, I want what they got. I want to, you know, be in that position. I want people to look at me in a certain way, in a certain light. And at the same time, it was like, bro, I loved, and people don't hate to admit this, I love the sin of it. You get what I'm saying? Like, it felt good. You feel me? Like it was like smoking, drinking, women, money. Bro, that's the ultimate combination of pleasure. You get what I'm saying? It's like
to your flesh. Yeah.
It appeals. You know what I'm saying? And that ultimately, man, just drew me to go deeper and deeper into that lifestyle. And before you know it, it was like I wasn't trying to be like them. I was more like them than they were.
For real, yeah.
Because they weren't really living that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Even I think you kind of touched on it a little bit in like the first verse. Even as far as like the spiritual aspect, I don't think people realize the spiritual aspect of it. Like people will say, man, it ain't that deep. Like everybody ain't no witch or no warlock. It ain't that deep. But I'm like, that's true. But at the same time, everybody ain't as shallow as you think it is. Like,
oh no, it's
I'll
deep.
say everything's not as shallow as you think it is. Things are a lot more deep than really.
I got to see a lot, man, in the industry before I got saved, and I knew for sure, man. I was in, the buildings of Sony. I was in there when Nas was recording. I was in there when Wu-Tang was recording. I signed my deal next door to Rockefeller while they was signing Beanie and
Wow.
like I've seen all of that stuff, right? And I would go to my sessions when I did the mixing, when I did my recordings, and we had specific meetings where we would say, what do we want this song to do? Right? We want to make them smoke. We want to make them, all right, the girls gonna go crazy for this one. They're gonna be ready to go home with anybody. We're gonna talk, everybody gonna be out to get money. I want to make people if they want to ride on somebody on this one, this is the song they gonna do it to. You know what I mean? Like it was intentional. You get what I'm saying about what direction I was going to move people. And then I tell them, when you look at the Bible, you look at David, right? And you look at Saul, David was called in to play and soothe Saul because he had a demonic spirit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when he played that spirit out of him. And I always tell people, it's the same concept. If you can play out, you can play in.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, we knew what we were doing. We were conscious of it. So now I understand, man. It's not something. Music is like a heartbeat, bro. It's literally connected to how it shapes culture, how it shapes your mind, your thoughts. You know what I mean? A lot of those different things.
Nah, most definitely. I mean, even like yesterday, Bizzo and them dropped the album. The God of Money. What is it? Us Against the World. Friday.
Against the World, yeah.
And my son, he just turned 5, but he loves music. I mean, every time we in the car, song come on. Daddy, who's this? All right, what's the song called? Okay. Every single time we got to say, all right, man, look, just chill out for a second. Cause like he wants to know every single artist, every song. And he's like a magnet. He hears it one time, he got it.
Yeah.
And like, so yesterday we was driving home last night and he had my phone. He was looking at the, I guess at the cover art of the new album as he listened to the music. The whole car ride, he was just like holding the phone, looking at it. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm so glad as a father that like my son can listen to stuff that I don't gotta say, hold on, what's that? Hold on, what's that? Hold on, what did you say? Like, I'm so glad for people like you, for people like Bizzo, like anybody who's doing Christian music. I'm glad, and I'll say good Christian music, because as a parent, I didn't think about it before really, but I have we have a 5-year-old son and a 6-month-old daughter. Now as a parent, I really, really appreciate Christian music. Cause me, I grew up on Christian rap. Like I didn't grow up on on like 50 and everybody. Like I grew up on Christian rap, like for real. So like, I'm glad that my kids can grow up on Christian music and I don't got to worry about what they're hearing, who's cussing, what they talking about. Cause I'm like, if my son's picking up stuff back when he was 2 years old, he's picking up songs and was knowing the lyrics to them. If I'm playing Migos and Drake and everything else, he gonna pick it up and know what they're talking about.
You don't know it, bro. My sons what I love is they grew up with me doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I've been doing it since 2010, really like fully. And both of my sons were like, one was like 7 when I, did my first Christian rap album. And the other one was like 6, 5, right? And here I am, I'm listening the other day. I put on one of my old joints that I had probably from 2000 and maybe 14. And my oldest, my next to middle son, he's 17, and he's rapping every word, right? Wow. And I'm like, hey man, you remember all them songs? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what about the new ones? Let me see if you know this. And he knows every word, right? So he's at a point of accountability where he can listen to the Little Babies. He can do all of these things. His favorite artist is actually 1K Few, but he listens to the different artists, but he knows all of my music. And I'm like,
yeah.
Yo, I've been teaching my kids without having to teach them as
Absolutely.
their father. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, most definitely.
So they've been getting the jewels, even just through my own music, to my own kids. So I don't take that for granted, man, when you say things like that as far as with your sons and your kids, because I had to be convicted by that even myself, because I had my artists that I would, when I was listening back in the day, and I'd be like, man, I'm gonna just check him out and see what he's doing or whatever. And I was a hustler, so Pusha T used to be a guy I listened to back in the day, like with the clips and them. I related. I'm like, then I try to listen later. I'm like looking out the window like the feds coming. I'm like, bro, I'm legal. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, but I said anything that I can't listen to with them, I shouldn't be listening to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
True,
that was just for me personally. I don't hold that in on anybody else's head, but I started to understand for me personally. I'm like, I'm doing this music, I'm doing this type of thing. I don't kind of want to be influenced by these guys, because if I am in some way, shape, or form, I'll find myself integrating what they do into what into what I'm doing. So yeah, man, I don't take that for granted, bro, that I'm able to do music where your kids can, be influenced, or someone else's kids, for sure.
Most definitely. And even like, so you're a youth pastor, right?
Yeah, yep. Here in Florida.
What's like the biggest, I guess the biggest need you would say that teenagers or youth in general need when it comes to, I could say in general, but I guess when it comes to church, I guess.
Church. It's funny. I just had that conversation today. We have life groups where they are split up into middle school, high school, girls, boys, and all of that. And I kind of went from class to class, and I was asking them, like, why are you here? Right? Like, why do you come to church? Be honest. If it's just because your parents bring you, tell me that, like, or tell me what it is. And a lot of them, I had one kid who kind of gave me the idea behind it, because he was just like, I don't know. Right? Like, he's like, I just really don't know why I come. Like, and we started to get into the conversation. He's like, none of this makes sense. Right? He just like, a man died on the cross. He got up. I mean, just all of it. He has so many questions, right? And I was like, wow, I think what they need more than anything, and he kind of showed me this, is they need that gap, right? Like we sometimes we are so disconnected from them as young people, and we'll say, oh man, you don't know what this is, or you guys don't know because in your day, or we have this disconnect from them, not realizing that they're struggling even though they don't have to pay bills. They're struggling even though they don't have responsibility. We got to acknowledge them, right? And we got to listen and hear what they got to say and be open for them to be honest, because as soon as they become honest, we jump on them. They be like, I don't really want to be here. What you mean you don't want to be here?
Yeah, absolutely.
You, you see what I'm saying? We gotta open it up to allow them to have that dialogue, and then let's figure it out. You know what I mean? Versus, because I myself will be there. I'll be like, oh, you don't have a relationship. That's why you're bored. You talking about you bored here in church. How can you be bored in church? You got to work. But it's real. We got to be honest with them, and we got to let them be honest. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's probably the biggest thing. That sometimes they feel unheard. They feel like no one will acknowledge, and we never gonna understand. That's just it is what it is. But they don't feel acknowledged. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think even with that, I feel like it's important that we don't forget that we was that age at one point.
Right. We didn't figure it out. We didn't know. And I know for sure the church I'm at, it's predominantly a white church, and I'm a black man who raps. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the whole stereotype. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, so it's like, for me, dealing with kids, I deal with kids all across the country, no matter what color or whatever. Bro, they so much more alike than we think. Hood to, you know what I mean, to burb, they way more alike than we think they are different. And so even in that, man, we got to know and understand that, bro, it's not outside of the realm to know we probably were worse than they were. You get what I'm saying? Like, we probably were worse than some of them. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny because a lot of them, I feel like all kids, some express it different than others. But for the most part, a lot of them really, really crave discipline. It sounds crazy, like, nah, they don't want discipline. Nah, a lot of them crave, like some of my pastors said that's so real. He said like years ago, and it stuck with me. He said rules without relationship breeds rebellion. Like you ever like see them parents that are like super duper strict on their kids all the time, and then the kids grow up to be like the worst kids in the world. And it's like, how in the world they grow to be so bad when their mom was so hard? It's because they had no relationship with them. And it's like you said, if we connect with them and understand them, like, yo, like, yeah, I understand what he's doing is kind of weird, but at the same time, let me connect with this kid. When you connect with him, he'll spill his heart out to you because he can trust you. Like my mom, prime example, she been teaching for 30 some years, and she used to teach high school. And I remember like being back in middle school, and she would literally go to her school And she had such a good relationship with her students. And on Sunday mornings, she would get a church van, go to the high school, park the van. The kids would get on the van with her, come to church, then she take them back home. And these are kids, these weren't saved kids, but they loved her so much, they wanted to be around her. And of course, nowadays, you know, all these rules and stuff, they don't want you talking about God in school. But she wouldn't bring it up, but the conversation will always go there. And she would be in the middle of class teaching home economics. And next thing you know, she talking about how come this is wrong or how come this person's dealing with this. And they loved it to the point where they would come to church with us. Even to this day, they still call her when they have a problem. Hey, Miss D, can you pray for me? Hey, I'm getting married. Could you come to my wedding? To this day. And it's like, because she took the time to connect with the kids. And it's like, that's what's important. We can't forget that we was at age at one point. And at the same time, the stuff we went through back then. And like you said, we actually, some people was probably doing a whole lot worse back then. Like this person might've been, you know, hooked on drugs by the time they were 16 years old. This kid over here is just looking at, or I guess thinking about doing drugs. They wasn't doing what she was doing, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we gotta, I guess, show them grace and mercy. I guess the same grace and mercy we hope somebody would have showed us, I guess.
Well, really, like the grace and mercy we received even from God, because
absolutely,
it took us time, and God was patient with us. You know what I'm saying? And still is patient with us. You know what I'm saying? So even in that, and it's funny you say the idea, and I deal with kids now probably more outside the church of, like you said, having that relationship. I've built some where they always at my house eating, and and they don't even, they weren't going to the church. They came to the church, or they're in certain neighborhoods, and I connect with them. And now I gotta pick them up in the morning, like you said, and bring them to church. And when I talk with them, like you said, that structure, some of them 19, right? They ain't even kids. But they still miss that structure that they had. They didn't have that, and they're still trying to learn how to find that. And I had one kid years back, who his mom called me, man, he was actually hitting his mom. Like, bro, he was on a whole nother level. He was a gang leader. When you get to a point where you hit your mom, bro, I don't even know where you are, right? Mentally,
that's mom,
and spiritually, that's demonic. I don't even know what that is. And I was pissed, man. You know what I'm saying? I was. That first thing I'm thinking is mom. You know what I'm saying? That's my mom now. You get what I'm saying? And I picked him up, and I was so patient. I was driving because I lived like 45 minutes away from the city, out in the county, try to get him away. And I took his older brother with me, and the whole way there, bro, he's talking about his gang. He got his rag on. He's throwing his signs up and stuff, right? Like, and I'm bawling the whole time. And we get out there, and I just grab him once out the car, and his brother's like, I told her, right? And I'm like, dude, like, and he's like, and believe it or not, one of the first things he said, this is a big kid, young kid. Man, I'm gonna tell my mother, right? After I grab him, all I did was grab him. He's like, I'm gonna tell him, I said, bro, your mom's is why you're here. Like, she called me, she told me what happened, and I'm like, you're staying with me, right, for the summer. Man, he turned into a little kid ready to cry. Man, that whole summer, I mean, yes, sir, no, sir, my wife, ma'am, taking out trash, cutting grass. And I remember at the end of that summer, man, when I sent him back home, I was like, why did I get the respect that I got from you? Why did, my wife get that respect? And your mom didn't. He said, to be honest with you, she never gave me structure. He said, I didn't know. Like, he was like, you told me this is your responsibility. Take this trash out on this day. This is what you better do. If you don't, this is the consequence. Like, he was like, I had no structure, and I had nothing to follow. He's like, you gave me structure. And I was like, wow, just that simple, man. It was just that simple. Just that simple.
Kids are not like, I think for some reason, people, we all can be guilty of it. People forget, kids are not dumb at all. No. Like, at all. Like, some of them smarter than grown people. Like, little 4-year-olds, they're not dumb. They can pick up on stuff. They can pick up on structure when they're 2 years old. And like something so simple yet so profound is like think about that. No structure, and people crave that.
Yeah,
man, like that's
funny
real.
because we need it. Today I had that conversation. Like you said, man, these kids are so smart. I had a conversation with the kids about structure, and one of them, she was saying specifically, she was just like, I'm a structured person. I'm here because of the structure. She was like, I love the structure. And then we began to talk about once they graduate and go out. And I'm like, you realize this whole construct. Everything is structured, even outside of church, home, school. There's a structure outside there in the world. And if you're not within that structure, you're outside the structure. And those are the people who are outcasts and who are, you know, homeless. And even in their structure, there's a structure. You get what I'm saying? You don't go on someone else's corner and ask for money. You get what I'm saying? Or you're outside that structure. So everywhere we go, and in some ways, as human beings, we are structured people. God has a structure. God has a hierarchy. God has a way of doing things. And it's just in our nature, I think, to have that and have that understanding, because we were created to serve. You know what I mean? So some way, some shape or form, we're searching for that.
Most definitely, man. Even with serving, I'm gonna kind of switch it up a little bit, but I think it kind of does kind of like fit in with serving. Yeah. Is that kind of why you made your rap label, Historic Music Group? Is, I guess, was it kind of to like help serve other artists as well?
Yeah, I was so focused on making sure everybody else like was able to do what God intended for them to do through music, right? Like, and I think it was God urging me to do that, because you look at somebody like Mouthpiece, right? Probably one of the dopest rappers I've ever heard.
One of my favorite all time, bro.
Yeah, easy. And I tell him, I'd be like, bro, I ain't talking about Christian. I'm talking about just rapping
straight
in
up,
general, right? And so it's like, and then when we first connected, he was already known somewhat, but you know, he had so many labels trying to sign him and all of these different things. But I looked at him for what he was, and that was a minister. I was like, bro, how can I serve you and serve with you alongside you in ministry? Had nothing to do with music. God had already. Let me just take you a little bit. I'm gonna give you a little bit behind the curtain on this one, right? So when I first started his story, that was literally God inspired. He's like, tell my story. This is about me. This is his story, right? And I'm saying to myself, okay, how the heck am I gonna start a label? I don't even establish myself. You know what I'm saying? And I remember, man, the Holy Spirit is speaking like, I'm gonna bring everything you need. I'm gonna give you everything you need. I'm even gonna give you an artist that'll sign. I'll show you. And I was like, okay. You know what I'm saying? And bro, I love to test God. He says it. Try me in this. You know?
Absolutely.
And I'll be like,
I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
All right. Okay, God, let me see what you're gonna do. And I went forward and I met Mouth, bro. And everybody had been trying to sign him. And we just had conversations and talked, and we built a relationship. And one day he said, you know what, Black? I'm his story, bro. And I said, what you mean? He was like, bro, I'm a part of whatever you're doing. I want to serve whatever you got going on. And I remember that conversation with God right there. I said, wait a minute, this guy's established. This guy signed with, listen, when I say every label, any label you can think of, they tried to sign him, bro.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, he said no to everybody. So my first thought, honestly, was like, they're gonna hate me. How he get him? You know what I'm saying? But it was a God thing, bro. And from there, it was about building community with other artists from there on. You know, I've literally have relationships with everybody. I know moms, I know kids, I know family, I know, you get what I'm saying? Like we really literally are family. I know people say that, oh yeah, we family, but I mean really, literally, we done ministered together. We didn't cry together. We didn't ate together. We didn't, you know, everything. We didn't gone through our moments of disagreements and holding each other accountable, from falling to building up, like all of that. You get what I'm saying? So I really felt like God wanted me to build that community, because otherwise, bro, I was just a non-trusting person coming from a street background. You get what I'm saying? So God kind of threw me out there and made me build that community.
No, most definitely. It's funny because you talking about him being a minister. I told Mouthpiece multiple times before. I told him, I said, man, I like you so much as an artist, not just because you can rap, but he reminds me of my pastor. Like, wow. Like the stuff he says, like I'm talking about, I've been listening to Mouthpiece since like 2009. And the stuff he always said, I just be like, that sounds like my pastor. Like what he just said, my pastor just talked about that.
Bro, our conversations that we have, and I told him this, like kind of like what you're doing. I told him, I said, because we've done it before live and we just talked and let people in on our conversation. And I said, bro, I'm like a friends and family thing where I let people hear our conversations. Because bro, he ain't a pastor, but he's a pastor. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
bro, he's looking for stuff, and I'd be like, bro, that's you. You're looking for what you are. You get what I'm saying? He'd be like, man, why don't we do this in the church? I'm like, because you don't have one. That's why. Like, you're supposed to do it. You know what I mean? So the man, from a ministry standpoint, when it comes to music, I don't have the ability that Mouth has to literally do a sermon in a song. Like,
yeah, he be preaching.
Bro, he be preaching. You get what I'm saying? And I've heard songs from him where I'm like, ooh, I'm really
convicted.
I feel like convicted. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, do I want to turn this off or should I keep listening? Like, that's an ability that God gave him. And I don't take it for granted. You get what I'm saying? Like, bro, it's probably touched so many lives, and people look at it and say, yo, some people look at Mouth as just an artist. They have no idea, you know, if they don't see it from a spiritual standpoint and they don't listen to the music and what he's saying. Like, bro, this is God speaking. You know what I mean? Through this man with the word of God right there. Or if you look at it as just rap, then you're gonna miss it every time.
I can tell. See, I can tell, and I never met him in person. I talked to him through Zoom. I did a song with him one time, and I talked to him for like, I think we've been friends on Facebook for years, so I talked to him through that way. But I've never met him in person. But I can tell. You know how you can tell someone is like living what they talking about? You can just tell.
Oh, yeah.
Just like with you.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you genuine. I can tell you living what you're talking about. A lot of times you can tell through the sermon whether someone is real or whether they just kind of saying it for the track. But no, like I can tell, like y'all, everybody on your label, I can tell. I haven't connected with what is it? I believe it's a Jermaine Martell, right?
Yeah. Jermaine
Martell. But even him, through like the songs I've heard, I can tell y'all all live what y'all talking about. Y'all mean it. Y'all ain't just talking about it for the song. Y'all really, really live it.
Jermaine the realest out of everybody. Trust me. Like when you hear his song, bro, he be saying stuff I would never say. Like, you know what I'm saying? He'll give you all of his life to the fullest. He got married, man. I want to say it's been about a year now. He got married a year ago. And if you listen to all of his music before, he tells you his struggles of singleness. Like, you know what I mean? He tell you like, bro, I'm struggling in this thing. Like, this is hard to deal with. Like, this is where I'm at. And even Mouth, he'll listen. He'd be like, oh my goodness. Yo, we should pray for Jermaine. I'll be like, yeah, we should. Like, he's telling you, like, and that's what I love. Like you said, the honesty and transparency, but more so, even in dealing with other people, we know it's hard to deal with the phoniness and the fake and the nobody got time to try to, you know, it takes too much energy, bro. I think because we're a little older too, we've kind of gotten to a point in a place where, bro, I didn't screwed up enough in God that I don't want to be disobedient. I don't want to deal with, I know how that looks. I know what's gonna come out of that. I'd rather the penalty of telling the truth than lying. You get what I'm saying? Because I know what that penalty of lying is and trying to fake and all of that stuff. It is what it is. So, you know, you're gonna get that, you know, ultimately through the music, through our lives, bro. And it's always not a good thing though. Sometimes it can draw people, but those are the people who are drawn are those who are genuine a lot of times. People who don't want that, they be like, yeah, bro, that's a good dude, but stay over there. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely. So what's next for like the whole label as a whole?
Yeah, so the crazy thing during the pandemic, we I wouldn't say we disbanded as far as what I did was I had dissolved the label only because of what was happening during the pandemic time. I kind of had to make a decision with, you know, all of the stuff that was happening as far as the business side, right? I never made it a business. Like, I had created an LLC for the sake of just to be transparent. I never took any money from them. I never, like, when they dropped everything, I put it out, they got everything. Like, none of it went back into, it was all theirs. You see what I'm saying? That was my goal, was to create that literally. And God supplied for me. You get what I'm saying? I was able to still market everything, put money up, make my money back or whatever off of my stuff, whatever I needed to do, and still connect with them. So Mouthpiece had retired, which I don't know what that even means, right? I told him, I was like, bro, it's no such thing. Man, you can't retire from who you are, right? And so he came back to do more things. I had Plain James, I had Double ATL. Double ATL wound up signing a deal, which is also was part of my goal too, was to create opportunities for people to get bigger, even platforms. So he wound up doing a deal with Doc Watson and with RMG. And
okay, yeah.
He wound up doing a deal with them. And I remember him calling me like, bro, what you think? I'm like, what do you mean what I think? What are they gonna do? Like, that's the whole goal, to get further in what you're doing. And we're still what we are. You know, I had Chris a lot part of 1K Famo, you know what I mean? And we're still, 1K Famo is basically part of his story. You get what I'm saying? All of us are still connected together. So it's like, that was my goal, plain and simple, ultimately, you know. So even now going forward, I got songs with Mouth, I got songs with Jay, I got songs with all of them, but it's like they're in limbo of what they're gonna do as far as releasing. You know, Plain James is getting ready to release something. Mouth, he sent me a video yesterday, like, bro, what should I do with this? I'm like, give it to the world, like, please, give these songs out. Like, so that's really where it's at. I think even during the pandemic, people kind of rethought how they were gonna do and approach things. You get what I'm saying? So that's really what we are. Me, I know myself. It gave me time to finally, and they've been pushing me to this, focus on myself, because I never have, bro. I was at a point where I was like, I might stop doing this. And believe it or not, I remember at the time it was Eshawn Burgundy, bro. He's like, yo, he's not. Nobody never knows him as a aggressive person. Like, he's the most laid back. Even if you listen to his music, he never yells or nothing, bro. He like, what you mean you done? Like, yeah, I'm like, what the heck? Who is this? He's like, bro, you haven't even given it 100% for you yet. And I knew that was God speaking, because that was out of his character.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, bro, he right. Like, I've never gave it 100% for myself, like as an artist or the music. I've always been trying to push everybody else and whatever case. So, man, I thank God that God was sustaining me during that, because you say you've never heard a bad verse. And I felt like, bro, I always felt like I'm at 70%. You see what I'm saying? That's how I felt. Like, I'm still growing as an artist. Like, what you've heard already, I can be way better than that. You get what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at now, where it's like I'm starting to feel like I'm developing as an artist. I'm trying new things. I'm doing, new songs, and I probably got like 3 or 4 projects easily. Wow. You know what I mean? That I'm getting ready to put out. I got a tour. I got a thing I'm doing for my church. They gave me like money to do a project, like an evangelist project. So I got that. And man, so I got so much to do. I thought I was done, you know what I mean? To be honest. And yeah, man, it's a lot.
Do you think that, because I think I've seen you talk about it on social media before, about how they always say rap is like a young man's game. Yeah. But like more and more I'm seeing like artists getting older, especially even mainstream, older artists, and they putting out music and they outselling everybody. And I'm talking about rap artists. Yeah. So like, do you think that like the age on rappers is like progressing now? Because I mean, look at the dudes who like came before you that are still putting out music, and they in their 50s. Yeah. And people still coming to their shows, they still listening. Because I think about it is there's always gonna be an audience that wants to hear what you got to say, because they came up with you, and everybody don't want to hear. I'm not saying nothing against today's music, but if we being honest, it's not the same as far as like I heard a rapper say, I was impressed with stuff dudes did years ago, because I was like, man, everybody can't do that. But now some of the stuff I hear now, it's like, man, my 2-year-old can do that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like people always want to hear from somebody like a Dee Black, because what you're saying and how you're saying it is so impressive. It's like, man, I want to hear more of that. So do you think, I guess, rap is aging with the artist itself?
I think the artists, like I can speak for myself, where I get so many feature requests from non-Christian artists. It blows my mind. They be like, I F with this. I'm like, dude, I'm a pastor. Like, they be like, oh, my blessings, holy, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you don't even know who you're asking for. Like, you have no idea, but they're drawn, because I'll ask a young guy, I'm like, please tell me when I start sounding like, a hippie, you know what I mean? I think as artists, we have progressed, meaning people who grew up in the 90s, right? You think about a Kendrick Lamar, you think about a J. Cole and those guys. They rap like them.
True.
They rap like us. Like they rap like, I say them, but it's us, because I was doing it. You know what I mean? And so when you hear our music, it's timeless. I think it's timeless if you can do it in a way that's relevant and it has a little bit of modern feel to it, then it's always gonna have. And then you got this nostalgia too, like you said, with people who, you know, even young kids. You got these young guys. I hear like a Christian rapper, like the young guy Bats, I think his name is. I'm like, dude, he sounds like he's from 1997. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that era, like you said, it was such a time of creativity and speaking and saying something, whether it was negative or positive, you still had an agenda and you were saying something, and everybody could do. Like, I love to hear, like what you said, I love to hear artists where I say, man, I cannot do what he did. Like, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? There's certain artists like a Jay Monty, I can't do that, man, bro. I can't do that. You get what I'm saying? I listen. I be like, bro, if I keep listening to you, I'm gonna stop rapping because I'm gonna think I'm
insecure. Like, man,
right. I can't do that, bro. And then, but he respects what I do. I tell him, bro, that's amazing. He's like, yo, that means a lot coming from you. I'm like, bro, what are you talking? Like, you're But everybody, that's the beauty of it. Everybody has their own lane and what they can do. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a young man's, because in some way, the young people move the needle. They move the culture forward, and some of them don't want to hear. They be like, bro, where the turn up? You know what I'm saying? And they don't want to hear, and I get that, but that shouldn't discourage you or stop you from giving the content that you got. Because in my church, I just told you, it's a predominantly white church. I rapped on Resurrection Sunday. I rap, you know, at least 2 or 3 times out of maybe 3 or 4 months. I might rap, bro, on stage at my church. And it's not a small church, because people automatically would think, oh yeah, it must be a little small church and they let the guy get up and do his little rap. Nah, it's a predominantly big church. You know what I'm saying? It's a Southern Baptist church, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't even, you get what I'm saying, right? And I'm the black guy who's really black. You get what I'm saying? I'm a black guy. You get what I'm saying? So, like, so for me being up there and rapping and them responding, I had a guy last week, the other week, he comes up crying, an older white guy. He's crying, bro. He's like, yo, I don't know what that was. That was beautiful. That was amazing. And I'm just like, wow. You know what I mean? Off of a rap song, of me rapping. So I understand the power that's in it, bro. And that's what keep me going. Even though I know it's still the young people move it. You know what I mean? The 1K Fuse, these guys. I'd be like, all right, go listen to his after you hear mine. You know what I mean? So,
but even with that, at some point, even after the turn, because trust me, the turn up has its place, especially in Christian music. I feel like that's one of the areas that Christian rap is growing in, is that we're really, really diverse now. So you can get a turn up, you can get a real, I guess, like heartfelt record. You can get all kinds of stuff.
Theology, rap, all of that.
You can get anything. But to me, as people, at some point, you do want to hear that real eventually. And the turn up is cool, and we can do turn up songs, but to me, you gotta have that balance of, well, what are you saying to me though? Because if you don't, it's gonna start sounding real shallow. Because the thing about it is, everybody go through something.
Yeah.
When you go through something, you don't want to hear turn up. You want to hear what's gonna get me out of this situation. What's gonna help me to hear from God? And like a song like you talking about, like Mouthpiece, almost preaching to you. Yeah. Some people need that. They need that.
Yeah. So it's funny you say it, because like Mouth, he has his songs, and even myself, I'll have them songs where it feels like turn up. But when I listen back to it, I'll be like, oh my goodness, bro, we still preaching. You know what I'm saying? He had that song, Do It Like Paul. I remember he's like, do it like Paul. Like, it's like turn up, but then you hear what he's saying, you're like, oh no, he preaching. It's like, I'm gonna give you this broccoli under this steak. You feel me? Like, you're gonna get this broccoli here. You get what I'm saying? One way or another, if you're gonna drink it in juice or something, I'm gonna find a way to give you what you need. And then I can have songs from Mouth where I'm riding and I'm in Miami somewhere. I'd be like, bro, I can't listen to this right now. Like, this ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got certain songs for that. Mouth has those songs where I'm like, bro, I'm riding down with the top down in Miami. Man, let me open my shirt up and let my chain show. Like, it just feels that feeling. But then you have ones where, I'm sitting and I listen. I don't want to ride and drive. I will zone out and crash somewhere listening to some of the stuff. You get what I mean? It all has its place, like you said.
You got a song called Kyrie. That's a turn-up song. but at the same time, you still preaching. And it's like, but that's the dope thing about it though. It's like, I think people gotta realize you don't even have to necessarily compromise your pen on a turn up song. Like that's a turn up song, but you still spitting. Like I wouldn't say you was just going mid there. Like you was spitting on that.
You know what's funny about that? As lyricists, bro, we struggle. Because I'll be like, man, that seems so elementary. I remember when Mal first did the Uno song for his story, you know, Uno, I'm about that Uno. He was like, bro, I was like, that's gonna be a big song. And sure enough, it was. Same for myself, like with Kyrie, or I mean, I had that rock song. I remember going, bro, I was traveling all over the country. People were like, do that song. They were bringing me out to do just that song. And I'm like, this is so elementary. Like, but then I didn't realize even people weren't getting the punchlines. They didn't hear that it was similes. That's the one gift Mouth always tells me with myself. I've learned how to give you a punchline. It makes sense, but lyricists and people who rap know that it's a double entendre. But people who just listen to music casually are like, oh, he just said, I am nobody. That's how I got ahead. And they like, but a lyricist is like, oh, he said, I am nobody. That's how I got ahead. You know what I'm saying? I like, so that I've learned to do that even in the Kyrie songs, the turn up songs, where it makes it digestible for people. But I feel like for myself, oh yeah, I'm still being lyrical. You know what I mean?
It makes it digestible for people, but at the same time, the people that know are like, you hear what he just said? Like my wife probably more than me. My wife loves music, and like she came up listening to like bars, like she from up north. So like she grew up here like listening to bars and like bars, mixtapes and out like all the time. So like I think what song was it from you? Like she was like, oh my gosh, it was off your last album. Oh man, what was the one?
Oh, was it off of it wasn't the Blood one, was it? Or was it
I'm about to look it up right now. It was
that's amazing, bro. I don't take that for granted.
It was off Flight Club. It was Baggage Claim. Baggage Claim.
Oh, you know what? That's a sleeper too.
But yo, you was spitting on that. And she was just like, yo, like she loved bars. She was like, yo, no, run that back. And like I'm telling you, like that song, you said sleeper, that song right there. Like
you know what? I'm gonna do a spotlight on that just for you, just because you said
I appreciate it.
I've been doing spotlights on songs here lately, and that's one of the ones you just reminded me I need to go back to, because sometimes I want to break down my bars for people because they don't understand, like from a perspective of artists. It ain't even about just me. I'm like, you got to see what goes into what we're doing, right? Like, and I'm always a big like person of saying those guys over there who don't do what they do, it's nothing compared to what we do. It's nothing compared to what we do, because it takes structure, it takes thought, it takes God, it takes no cursing, it takes saying something, it's a lot behind it.
They don't understand even the no cursing part. Do you know how easy people in the world have it?
I know. Just fill a word in.
What do I say here? Oh, let me just throw this word here.
Yeah, let me throw this here. What am I gonna talk about? Weed. Like,
exactly.
It's like we know it's so easy to come up with topics and thoughts where we have to be more thought-provoking. And honestly, God will lead me a lot. So I'll pray, and God is leading me in a direction that I don't even want to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man, I gotta do this. I just want to bar them to death on this. You know what I'm saying? And God leads me in a different direction. And now I gotta be creative. I gotta creatively figure out how to teach you without you thinking I'm teaching you, or how to creatively have you listen to something sonically that you don't realize you're getting the vegetables. You know what I'm saying? You don't realize it, and you're consuming it. But I got to creatively give it to you, because you know how it is with little kids. You got kids like, so you give them a zero. You know what I mean? Let me fly it into, you know what I mean?
Or you try to mix the medicine with the applesauce. That way they
what is this? I'm like, all right, it's coming on an airplane. It's like,
but it's funny you mentioned that, because like people don't realize it's funny, because like when you tell somebody you do Christian rap, they be like, cool, but like, what do you rap about? Like, so do you just rap about the cross every song? Like, they have no idea what we even rap about. I had one dude that he didn't know I rap because I don't go around saying I rap. So he was like, "You rap?" And he wasn't even being racist. He was just like, he's a white guy. He's like, "Hold on, so wait a minute." He was like, "You're a black guy that raps, and you don't talk about drugs, and women." And he said that, and I don't think he meant to be offensive. He was just being real. Like, I've never seen that.
It's a real thing, yeah.
And he was like, "You don't like, what do you talk about?" And I was like, "I talk about everything. I just talk about it from a Christian perspective. I talk about everything." Because the Bible talks about everything.
Everything. I just told the kids that today. I'm like, if it was a movie, bro, it would not be rated R. It would be like XXX.
Yeah.
Rated.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like it couldn't be shown on TV in the theaters, the stuff that's in there and the stuff that we've seen. So I don't even know what it is like to have writer's block. Like I've never been in a position where I couldn't write. Like never. It's so much to talk about. Now, I think sometimes when you get there, it's probably because you're trying to figure out what you want to do. You get what I'm saying? That's really what it comes down to. And so I have to back up and I'll be like, every time where I'm like, all right, let me write. And it doesn't come. I'm like, okay, God, well, let me see. Let me open this Bible real quick. Like, let me look through here. Let me, with just something I got to read, something I saw last week. And to this week, it's totally different. The perspective and how I see it. You know what I'm saying? So it's
always content.
Yeah, always. Yeah. So.
Hey man, well look, I don't want to hold you any longer because we could talk about this stuff all day. We gotta do this again. We gotta do this again.
For sure, bro. For sure.
Anything you want to say in closing?
I mean, bro, I appreciate you even reaching out to do it because you are one of the people that I see consistently in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through support or whatever. And I respect what you do. I've seen you do music. I've seen you and wife like building something. Like, it's funny because from a perspective of what we do as artists and all of that, a lot of times you see things and it doesn't look together, if that makes sense, right? You're like, oh, he's a rapper, but it don't look like it's really something. You guys look like you're building something, right? Like, and you know what I mean? So I appreciate you actually reaching out to do it, man. And yeah, man, I'm just praying whatever you have planned, man, it becomes even bigger because just these type of things are needed from a platform, position and just having these real talks and organically.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. So look, man, this has been another episode of Convos. Support Dee Black. What's your socials?
At Dee Black Music for everything. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is Dee Black Music. YouTube is Dee Black Video. You can go to my website as well, deeblack.com. Get everything there. Reach out to me. You'll be able to find my email and all of that stuff on there.
Most definitely, man. Look, support this brother. Pray for this brother. He's dropping new stuff. I know you said you put a post talking about you're gonna be dropping like more often. So man, support what he's doing. He's dope. He ain't just a dope artist. He's a real man of God and he's serious about what he's doing. So support him. We'll catch y'all next time. God bless.